Why, good evening, folks. Thrash Bondo here. I'm going live a little bit early today. I'm doing a scheduling accommodation for a friend of the channel, Danny Statons. I'm trying to get the lighting right. Seems okay, a little gothic, but I'm a romantic. I'm actually a few minutes earlier than even planned because I was allowing for scheduling and technical problems, but everything seems to be going fine. So I'm just going to wait for somebody to show up. And of course, it's friend of channel Tracy's from Tracy's fact for from her flock. My flockshire history is everywhere. Tracy says hi, guys. Sean Innes says, "Hey, Thrash." Welcome to the show. Sean, Lance Chafin is here, says hiya, Thrash. Tom the Hungry Jerk, who I thought would just be watching tonight because he's busy at work, but he says listening only at work, so he's popped by too. I actually say he's only able to pop by. Anyway, Tom, so glad you could make it, by the way. Good luck making that lasagna. Keith E says, I'm here, as in Horton Hears a Who. So good to see you, Keith. Great to have you here tonight. And Sean Inda says, present at Keith E. So, how you guys doing so far tonight? I do have a trivia game. It's based on a running joke I had with some Facebook friends over the weekend, but we'll get more on that later. I want a few more people to show up. And until then, let's see. Tracy says, making orzo for the first time. Wish me luck. You know what's so funny? We had chicken vegetable orzo at the restaurant this past week, by the way. It was our soup of the day for like a week. And let's see, she says, oh, and she's saying hello to everyone else in the chat. Well, so far, so good. I'm about 8 minutes early, and so we have 7 people on. That's pretty solid. Keithy says, Sean, when they call the rolls of yonder, I'll be there. Oh, Michael from Michael's Drones and RC says, good evening, my friend. Michael, so glad you could make it. By the way, if you haven't checked out Michael's channel, and if you have any interest at all in drones and other flying machines, check out his channel. He's got some great stuff on there. Pete McGuire is here saying, having a beer on the deck. Let it rip. Pete, so glad you could make it, by the way. Welcome to the party. I was actually just on the deck myself, actually. Mrs. Thrash got a brand new swinging chair for our deck. It's absolutely gorgeous. I helped her bring it up and set it up. Unfortunately, it's not made for somebody of my carriage, so she has a nice new chair, and I'll be able to have fellow. She's laughing at me from the deck right now. We can't get her off the deck now. I think he's going to start taking her meals there. But anyway, we will have fellowship on the deck, and that will be her throne, as it were. In any event, a lot of people saying hi to Pete and Michael. Thank you. Liz Javen says, watched Bumblebee last night. Haven't seen it. Did you enjoy it? Was the big question. Sean says, I used to love RC cars and planes as a kid. Expensive pursuit. Yeah. My dad bought me a couple when I was a kid. They didn't have drones back then, but we did have remote control goodies. Never got the hang of it. I had the eye hand coordination of Helen Keller. Gary Carpenter is here. Hey, Gary Carpenter says, greetings, chaps. I'm back. And greetings, Gary. Oh, and which member of the Kings has passed on? By the way, Gary mentioned earlier one of the members of the Kings passed on today on a Sunday afternoon. And if you could remind me of that, it would be nice to read that into the record. Michael says, I smashed that like button for you, my friend, just to let you know. Thank you so much, Michael. You are a true friend of channel. Welcome aboard. A lot of people having fellowship. Liv David says, yeah, first like. Lance is always there with the likes. And so, anywho, oh, we lost a fellowshipper. Oh, well, perhaps they'll be back. In any event, so basically just a basic Q&A today, by the way, nothing too major. I decided, anyway, here's the situation. We were talking about the Warriors on Facebook today. It's so funny, too, because just a couple nights ago, it was finally cool enough and non-humid enough where I could actually sit in the garage at night and be comfortable. I had to keep the door open. But I was watching a couple movies in the bridge, as it were. One of the ones I pulled out was The Warriors because I haven't seen it in forever, and I wanted to test out a new VCR I had. So I literally just seen it, and they showed a picture of a certain element from The Warriors, and it sort of got this whole ball of wax going. By the way, and of course, I'm always asking you people to please, please, please watch my post on the Warriors with my game changing theory. So, I seem to have been pontificating long enough to have lost the thread. I'm going to. Shannon says to Thrash Pondo, did you ever go to a slot car racing place as a kid? Love those two. Modeled Rocketry 2. We lost Mark Margles. Oh, yes. Don Hector from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Very, very sad. Rest in peace, Mr. Margulis. And no, we didn't have any of those slot car places around here when I was a kid. Arcades, but no slot cars. Les Gibbons says, come out to play. I drink cans, so I don't have bottles to clack together. Oh, Wajameen is here and saying hello to everybody. Wow, way early. Hello, everyone. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I mentioned that on the post that I was going to be broadcasting early. Long story short, Dan is going to be guesting on another podcast later on tonight, and so that he could make it with us, I decided to post early. Although we're down to 4. Well, hopefully some of them will come back. Yes, Tracy. Remember, you were one of the ones who. So you'll at least get one question right on the trivia question. You can answer the trivia. Actually, I broke the trivia up into 2 parts tonight. So in case one element gives people trouble, you might do better on the second part. But the first part is actually going to be on the Warriors. Gary Gabbard says, I've never seen it and I don't want to. Free country. Sean, it is says, can you dig it? I certainly can. And Lance Jamin also says, can you dig it? And we're back up to 6, by the way. It's going to drive me nuts if I keep looking at the head count, by the way. I have you guys here, and that is more than sufficient. But anyway, yeah, old movies, by the way. I also watched Return of the Living Dead. Superplex is in here, so he won't be here to complain about zombie movies. We all know he hates zombie movies. One of the ones I wanted to watch, and I didn't get a chance to, I'll probably watch it sometime this week, is Wizards. I want to watch Wizards again. I don't know about you guys. I keep in contact with Ralph Bakshi on Facebook, and he's been posting some great art on his channel. And I was casually mentioning that I have not as yet given hope on a Wizards 2. At this point, I don't know if they're going to make it, but I think it would be great to have a Wizards 2. And Gary Gabbard says, long story short, too late, but I'm bumped. Yes, I get that a lot, by the way. Being that brevity is the soul of wit, I cannot be brief. But speaking of Danny, he's not here to give us our links. So as soon as he does, we'll have to. I'm sure most of you have already joined Wajameen, but as soon as he gets here, we'll have to give links for other folks' channels because I like to cross-reference. Shona says, I've been trying to binge the old UFO TV series. Wow, did it not age well? The tech speak is really awful, LOL. I used to love it. I used to watch it with my father in New York when I was a kid. I didn't get it in my station. When I went to visit my father, he had it at his local station. And I thought it was very sort of wacky. We loved it, but we enjoyed it on a camp level. And I would have been a kid then. I would have been like 10 or 11, maybe even younger. But I just found this out. In fact, I think Daryl Johnson told me this, but whoever it was, thank you. Benedict Cumberbatch's mom was one of the hotties on UFO. And I'm like, wow. I never knew that. Speak of the devil, Daryl Johnson series says, Bob, other brother, how you doing? It was you that shared that post on about Benedict Cumberbatch's mom being on UFO, or whoever did, thank you very much. I know you at very least liked the post that I shared. Gary Carpenter says, night of, day of, Return of the Living Dead. Actually, believe it or not, it's Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead. Return of the Living Dead is actually a separate offshoot. Both Dan O'Bannon and not Dan O'Bannon. Well, George Romero was associated with the guy who made Return of the Living Dead. Not Dan O'Bannon. But they sort of parted ways, which is why one went to make Day of the Dead, the other went to make Return of the Living Dead. Technically, they were rivals of each other, although, again, loosely based on the same story. Sean says, same. From a kid's point of view, it was okay. Yes, that is true about Benedict Cumberbatch's mom. Yeah, wasn't that crazy? Although it's not uncommon for the children of actors to become actors themselves. Ron Howard, um, Crispin Glover, um, um, others. Laura Dern, possibly the best example I can think of at the top of my head. Daryl Jones says, "Was it?" So apparently, it wasn't you that I had who sent it to me. But you have sent me some really cool stuff on Facebook too, and I thank you. Gary Cameron says, "Project UFO was a great show. It certainly was. I love Project Blue Book too." Daryl Johnson says, "Ready to kick my printer across the room." So been there. Wait, which one was Project UFO? I remember Operation Blue Book, but now I'm drawing a blank on Operation. I think I'm actually thinking the same show, just remembering different facets of it. Remind me which one Project UFO was. I'm sure I saw it. And again, don't kick your printer across the room. It never helps. Gary Capper says, I forgot Dawn of the Dead. A lot of people did. For some reason, it's like the stepchild of the whole franchise. And, I didn't really care for it when I was a kid either. I thought it suffered from poor production value compared to some of the others as well. But I got to tell you, I have watched it at the behest of another YouTuber. I gave it another chance. And when you can actually give it an even-handed review, it's actually pretty solid. The effects are actually pretty good. The acting is melodramatic and over the top, but it holds together. It's got a really good story. The characters are engaging. So it's actually pretty solid. It just what happened was Romero, when he was conceptualizing Day of the Dead, he wanted to make a zombie epic. He wanted to make Gone with the Wind of zombie movies. He could not get the budget. So, since he had limited time and facilities, he pared everything way down and made Day of the Dead. And really wasn't very proud of it. And it really wasn't marketed very well. And the whole thing kind of lapsed into a quagmire of obscurity in the franchise. But again, undeservedly so. So, again, really haven't seen it, check it out. Danny Staten his hair and says, greetings from South Carolina. Dan, so glad you could make it again. I went on early today so that you'll be able to be free for the podcast that you were going to this evening. If you could drop some links, by the way, for Michael's Drones and RCs and Wajimeen, please. It would truly be appreciated. And anyone else who wants Denny to drop you a link. Let's see what else we can go. Danny Staten says Project Blue Book was a biography of the Air Force investigating UFO sightings. That one I remember vividly. It was sort of like X-Files before there was X-Files, or sort of Adam 12 if instead of cops they were Air Force a research team. And they went from town to town investigating UFOs. And of course, most of them were hoaxes, but always more to the story. It was a great show, and I thought the chemistry between the two of them were great. But I'm trying to remember the other one that we were just talking about, Project UFO. Gary Carver mentioned. I know the show. I just can't place it. Shanina says, I get the dead movies confused. I divide it into the one in the mall, the one in the army base, etc. Army base is day, mall is dawn. And then Night of the Living Dead is the farmhouse. And Return of the Living Dead is the mortuary. And when I first saw it some 40 years ago, almost 40 years ago, the idea of setting a undead movie in a mortuary, I just thought is absolutely brilliant. By the way, oh, and I've actually engaged in discussions on other YouTube channels. For those of you who remember the movie, was Ernie the mortician? Was he a former Nazi? I have several proofs that say yes. Gary Cameron says Project UFO was the show with the two soldiers. You know what? I think if they are the same show, I think I might just be remembering different facets as different shows. But yeah, I think Project Blue Book and Project UFO. I think we're just remembering the same show. I think. Lance David says, I'm being ignored here. Lance, you are not being ignored. How could anyone ignore you? You are not being ignored. We shall not ignore you. Please give us a question and I will answer it. Or give us a bullet point and I will fire it. Yeah, Gary Carpenter says, DS not. No, that's not it. Oh, all right. Then maybe I'm just remembering. I'm sure I know the two shows, but for some reason I'm just confusing them as one. Lance Gibbons says Thrash keeps skipping me. Well, Lance, if you're talking to me specifically, I read the comments into question. But remember, if you guys are having fellowship with each other, I usually skip those because like half the comments are, oh hi Lance, hi Gary, hi Sean, hi Tom, and those if you guys are just talking to each other, I generally don't read those into the record because again, I get a lot of comments to read. But again, if you want to read something into the record, I will. Oh, like for example, you go on to say "ha ha" to Gary Carpenter. All right, you've laughed at something Gary Carpenter said. Oh, yeah, Gary Carpenter says to Lance, anyone can skip you, lol. Danny says, yep, dudes, right. Project UFO was the one about Blue Book UFO investigators. Then it goes on to say the other show was just called UFO. UFO is actually the BBC show, and it was about humans find out aliens are contemplating invading the earth, so they spend years building up a secret army to fight them, and they have this sort of proxy war. Shanina says, Lance, I think he gets lost as the chat scrolls. Nothing personal. I get skipped too here, and MGS's chat. Dave Sundstrom's. Oh, yes, indeed. Um, oh, and Fred the Enchanted says, do you know the Aero 244 SUV? I don't. But Fred, welcome to my chat tonight. And Lance goes on to say, okay, Sean, thank you. Yeah. Again, usually when people are talking to each other, I let them have their private chats, but I will spotlight yours as needed. Gary Carpenter says, I'd rather see I Walked with a Zombie or White Zombie. I know I've seen Walked with a Zombie, racking my brains, but White Zombie I've probably seen 30 times. One of my favorite movies. I think I like Bela Lugosi in that better than Dracula. And it was kind of raunchy for its day, wasn't it? A lot of people saying hello to Fred. Tracy says, I am cooking dinner, so I am in and out, Lance. Oh, and Dan has given us a link to Tracy. Thank you very much for giving us a link to Tracy's channel. I love your live chats, Tracy. Keith E says, Lance, the Claude Rains of Chad. The Claude Rains of Chad. That might be Siri hamstringing you again. Watchmean says, I imagine keeping up with comments is tough. Well, you guys are very, very, very engaging. And as a result of which, sometimes it is. And that's why I tend to read the ones in the record that are more geared towards the public chat as opposed to the individual back and forth. I don't know how Retro Nerd Girl does it, because I can have a conversation with Lantha Keith on one of her shows, and she'll read each one back and forth, and I'm like, wowzers, because sometimes you could tell from the tone of her voice she's not even sure what we're talking about. We're talking about something on Dave's channel or something else, but you have to applaud her. Oh, she's making sausage meatballs with orzo. I hope you're keeping kosher. Lynn says, watched Hidden Strike with Jackie Chan and John Cena. Not too bad. Crazy action scenes. I can only imagine. I think John Cena's great, and how do you not love Jackie Chan? Fred says, they ruined the reputation of my country. Well, I'm very sorry to hear that, Fred. I'm very sorry to hear that. Shannon says, it helps to get his attention if you use the at sign. Add in Thrash Pondo Pawns. I think it was actually the other British network, ITV. Did I say BBC? I think you're right. I think because it was Gary Andrews who did Space 1999 and whatnot, and he specifically worked with ITV. So yeah, I think you're right. Jenny says purple haired chicks base on the moon UFO rocked. Yes, it certainly did. It was wacky, but it was a great show. I don't know if you appeared late, but one of the hotties was Benedict Cumberbatch's mom. Tracy says, thank you, Danny. I appreciated that. Watchman says, I will be in and out also. Unfortunately, not a problem. The fact you hear it all is a big coup to us. Danny Staten says, I was going to watch Don Knotts' movie today, but I spent all day in comic book shops. Oh, I am so jealous of you. I haven't been to a comic book shop in years. Oh, Tracy says RNG is awesome. She certainly is. She's absolutely amazing. In fact, Danny, how about doing a link to Retro Nerd Girl? Please, please, you're on top. Fred says, I mean, the BBC did. Is it because it canceled all the really good sci-fi shows? Because that would certainly take the wind out of my sails. It canceled Doctor Who, Tripods. I can't remember the new director. They got a new director. I want to say in like 1988, 89, and he hated sci-fi, and he canceled all the British science fiction shows, which were great, which were absolutely amazing. Let's see what else we got here. Shauna says, plus Dave, Thrash, and RNG do a pretty good job of deciphering my karate typing too. Thank you. The trick is to read it phonetically and then try to figure out after the fact. Tracy says, I'm not a kosher cow. It's quite all right. It's quite, although I'm sure you can find kosher sausage. Brogu is here, says, hello, Thrash, and hello to everyone. Brogu, hello to you. Let's see, Danny's giving us a link for Richard Nurgirl. Thank you. Gary Cameron says, I haven't seen Space 1999 in ages, and I found some episodes on YouTube. Yeah, I know, which is really amazing because BBC are ruthless about their content, by the way. There was an old Benny Hill, not episode, there was an old Benny Hill routine I hadn't seen in years, and it came up ages ago, and I wanted to watch it again. And every time people put it up, they would take it down. And I'm like, dude, I just want to watch. Can't you wait till I watch it, then take it down? Yet some things go up and stay up. It's very, very, very odd. I think they just miss a lot. Whatever they catch, they take down. Len says, Tracy, not kosher. I'm pickled pink. I assume you mean tickled pink. Tracy's laughing at that. Brogu's saying hi to Keith. Yeah, Keith, we haven't heard from you in a while, but I'm sure you're still there. I'm guessing Surrey is giving you headaches. So, but fear not. Fear not. Oh, Ken Wilkinson is in the house. Says, good afternoon, Bob. Mr. Wilkinson, thank you so much for joining us. So great to see you. And again, thank you. Everyone who decided they could join me for a special early edition, I really appreciate it. I know it's 7:30 has been kind of etched in stone in a while, but again, Danny does so much for us. The least I could do is go on a little early to accommodate him. Danny says, somewhere in a box, I have the Benny Hill show on VHS. Wowzers. Must be a big box. And, well, I'm actually caught up. Well, of course, we only have about 11 on tonight. Oh, Keithy says, I'm here, bro. got got his hippopotamus this morning. I wonder how that worked out, bro. Goo. Yes, as I say, Sir is giving me a hard time, but I think I got the gist of that. Yes, bro goo, I hope your new hippopotamus is working out for you. Tracy says the same thing with my Australian TV shows, bloody copyrights. Um, yeah, there were a couple Australian shows I used to watch as well, and Gonzo. Len says Thrash watched some of the sci-fi movies you sent me. Thank you. Oh, that box set. Yeah, my favorite on that was the Idaho Transfer. I actually do a retrospect on the Idaho Transfer, but I'm glad you're enjoying them. Uh, and Denny says I have lots of boxes of VHS tapes. I should do something with them. In my bridge in the garage, I have a bin. And I mean, literally, it had been an old storage freezer. But when it stopped being cold, I didn't want to spend the $100 to get rid of it. So I decided to use it as a crate. It's filled with old VHSs. I also have behind my uh, shelving that I actually put movies on in the bridge. There's actually baskets, like old like grocery store baskets, filled with VHS as well. I'm really gonna do a walkthrough of the bridge. I really should walk you guys through it sometime. It's far more interesting than it sounds. Let's just see what we going on here. A lot of people again having fellowship. Look who's here. Ebony Miller's here, and she says, "I'm in place of." Oh, I'm sorry. I'm in a place with a horrible signal. I'll try to make it home before y'all leave. Emily, the fact that you stopped by to say hi is more than enough. But again, if you can actually get a better signal, that'll be great. Gary Carpenter says, my roommate moved out and I've got his DVD player. It works, but I've got to hook it up to see if it'll play. Roger. Does it have the old coaxial style or the tricolor red, white, yellow? Red, white, and yellow is like so simplistic, but coax actually works pretty good as well. Brogu says my hippo is doing okay, trying to teach him how to use the bathroom properly instead of my living room floor. Good luck with that. I imagine housebreaking a hippo would be difficult. Um, that should be a new marketing buzzsaw for this holiday season. The uh, pet hippo. Let's see what we're going to. Oh, yeah, Daddy says, LOL, I was riding beside Tornado today, caught some of my adventures on video. Dude, why did you open with that? You're like, oh, gee, I was going to talk about Don Knotts. Oh, and another thing, I rode by a tornado today. Why did you open up with I drove by a tornado? I'm so glad you're okay. Normally I would say, are you okay? Well, obviously you are because you're talking, but I'm so glad you're okay. And that is crazy. But yeah, Storm Chaser, post that footage. Please. Everyone else, comments below. Sean says, hello, Emily. Hope your signal holds. Drive safe. Indeed. Keithy says, bro, Goo. The best thing to do is train them with bananas. I'm not even sure that's going to work, but I'll take your word for it. Gary Carpenter says, I've got plenty of VHS tapes and DVDs. Some I need to replace. I actually lost a few over the years too, and I've decided I'm actually not going to replace them. I'm going to move on to streaming services and whatnot. I can't remember the last time I went on YouTube and couldn't find something, or not just YouTube, Max or that type of thing. It's becoming like the virtual library of Alexandria. I'm going to keep all the ones I got because sometimes you just want to pop something in and watch it. But yeah, I'm not going to go around. Although I've been trying to find, and you promise you won't laugh, I've been trying to find Cinderella Jones for about 15 years. I watched that movie when I was a kid. I think my grandmother or grandfather liked it. I forget. It's this very funny musical comedy farce set in the last days of World War II. I believe Robert Alda, Alan Alda's father's in it. It's a cute little film, and I cannot find it to save my life. Other than that, every other film in the world is available. Daryl John says, "Do not drive fast. Safety first." Emily, I couldn't agree with you more. Brogu thanks Keith for his advice. Tracy's just like, wow. Denny's like, actually kind of drove through it on camera. You drove. You drove through a tornado. Only you. Only you would drive through a tornado. And just be like, meh. I wanted to talk about Don Knotts, but on other news, I went through a tornado. What is going on in South Carolina, dude? It's crazy. Denny says, sadly, tornado was a wuss. Sadly? Did you see the movie Twister? Probably a good thing for you that it was. Oh yeah, Gary Garber says Twister was better. Oh, Indy Spouts is here. Just got here. Thanks. What's the trivia topic? Okay, the trivia topic, Indy, for tonight is going to. It's basically Hollywood street gang trivia. The first half is going to be on the Warriors. One of my favorite gang films. Just watched it again the other night, and there were people like doing like trivia about it on Facebook. So like, I'm really gonna do Warriors trivia. It's like a synchronicity thing here. And we'll also give people cause to actually go into my content channel and watch my Warriors retrospect with Game Changing Theory. The part 2 is just for people who haven't seen the Warriors, but so they have like a fighting chance. It's going to be on other depictions of street gangs in TV. Look who is here. It's Superplex. Boy, is this early. Yes, Superplex. Long story short, because I've told the story about 4 times, Danny had a previous commitment tonight and really wanted to do that and to do my show. And since Danny has done so much for my channel over these months, if not years, I'm in accommodation. I went on early so he could do this other podcast later on tonight. I did mention it on my comments board. I'm glad you got the signal and got here. And a lot of people saying hi to Zuplex, and a lot of people, Zuplex is saying hello too, including Lance. Let's just see. Denny says, "Yep, I hate missing anything." Yes, and you have friends of channel like all over the place, so I don't know. I don't know how you do it. I'll be honest with you. I'm getting to the point where, like, well, I miss so much stuff because I'm working. I miss a lot of RNG stuff. I missed Dave's show last Wednesday. Now, Danny, I know that you don't have like work issues to kind of work around, but still, there are a lot of times people have shows at the same time. I don't know how you manage to coordinate, but I'll always do what I can to accommodate. Keithy says, "Who is Super? Hello, hello. It's Zuper with a Z. Zupa, Zupa." And Indy says, "Yo, Zo." I love it. Yo, Zo. As in Zoop. Superplex. Sounds like a shopping mall. The Superplex shopping mall. And I think I'll start the trivia at the half hour, so just a few minutes. We only about have 11 people on, but again, the new early time slot. I didn't expect to have too many people on. I was expecting a certain number of people would have to miss the show tonight. Just Dan's giving us another link. Oh yeah, this is the podcast he was going to be going to this evening, by the way, for people who have an interest. And Daryl Jones is 13 watching now. It's up to 13 now. It was only 11 before, but it's up to 13. I think a few people have actually had to be in and out, by the way, like much like Emily. I think Tom, the Hunger Jerk, had to bop in and out because he's at work. Gary Cameron says, "Where can I find the Super Friends online?" That's a good question. Dave, if it's available, I'm sure Dave would know. I don't. I would guess Tubi would probably be your best bet, or Pluto, but I don't know how much they do in the way of animated. But Daryl said, "Are they?" Trey says, "Hear from Emily." Oh, hear from Ian. Hear from Ian lately. Not since he started his sabbatical. He told me he'd call me. I'm guessing he just has his hands full. So because T-Pons, give the Warriors a rest. That movie is so 70s. I know, but I love it, and I just saw it the other night. And every time I see it again, I want to talk about it. And again, it was on Facebook. They were talking Warriors trivia on Facebook. But you're right. I need. Well, of course, everything I do is retro. Everything I do. I thought you'd just be grateful I'm not doing zombie trivia again tonight. In fact, I mentioned that specifically before I go, because I know you hate zombie anything. Keithy says Retro Nerd Girl is rewriting Terminators 1 and 2 and creating a 2.5 and forgetting everything else. Love it. I absolutely that's a great idea. Although I think I really like number one. That had a very sort of almost noir feel to it. Okay, apparently we have a Michael person whose messages are being retracted. I'm guessing he said or did something naughty. I'm guessing it was Dan or Lance or one of my trusted wrenches who took care of it. But thank you. Indy says, hopefully you mean with Marvin and Wendy and not Zarn and Jaina, I assume. Correct. And he says, wrong. I'm going to watch a lady tell about her Bigfoot encounter. I know her personally. Oh, that was it. I knew it was something cryptid. I couldn't quite remember the details, but I remember you said it was something cryptid. And are you going to be on, or are you just watching? I forget too. I can remember if you said you were like uh, if you were going to be on, or if you had been on. But in any event, oh, and he's given us a link. And Tracy says no zombies. I said no zombies. Zubik says the last time I was 5 for 10, so you see why I hate trivias. You know, it's not about achieving perfect scores on trivia. It's about actually taking part and having fun. Do you guys know how badly I do with Tugs trivia? Oh my god, I feel challenged when I do Tugs trivia questions, but I keep doing them. And Gary Cameron says Diaz found lots of Bigfoot documentaries on YouTube, and I've got to watch them soon. Oh, Danny says he was spamming, and Lance says got him. Lance, I knew it was one of you. I'm so glad you got him. Thank you, bro. You are Lancelot, the knight of the pawns table. And oh, and Tracy calls you Lancer. Yes. Lance says thank you, guys. Oh, and Zublik says, good work, Lance. No, Lance, thank you for being on top of it. Gary Garman says, Indy, both theories, yes, with the twins and Wendy and Marvin. I prefer Wendy and Marvin too. And Dino, not Dino Mutt. There was Wendy and Marvin had a dog too. Zublik says, Unapologetic has trivia. Yes, if you go onto his channel, on his community page, he posts fairly routinely. He posts trivia questions, and they're multiple choice, but they're tough. And I think I get like 1 out of 3 right. They're toughies, and usually I guess. Oh yeah, Gary Governor waving to the geek. Daryl Gunn says, "Tell the spammers you are the law before you toast them." That sounds fun. Jonathan says, I've been doing well with Tug's trivia questions. They are good, not easy. Again, I can see how some people do very, very well with them, but if you're doing well with them, I applaud you because I do poorly. Danny Jane has given us another link. A link to the Super Friends. Thank you so much. Very timely. Lance Jibben says, I am the law. Oh, and Lance says, it's Wonder Dog Thresh. Thank you. Thank you. I could remember to save my life. Daryl Jones says, that's the ticket. Shannon says, Stallone/Lance. Yeah. Indy says, I think I've missed 3 of Tug's questions to date. I think I may have gotten 3 of Tug's questions to date. They're good questions, though. They're great questions. And Zublik says, I thought he only did retrospectives. He does retrospectives. In fact, he's got one on his second one of the Twilight Zone, where he talks about one of my favorites, the one with Gig Young, about the guy who goes back in time, which he brought up. There were a lot more flaws to it than I realized, but it's still a great episode. But that one is actually loosely based on Rod Serling's personal experiences. After the war, he suffered from almost unendurable nostalgia. He couldn't get his mind around not going back. He wanted to go back in time to a more idyllic, simpler times, and he wrote that as sort of a catharsis. Danny says they have a rare set of Marvin and Wendy action figures at the comic shop for $40, but no dog. Oh dear. Oh, Lisa Fields is here. Says hi, Thrash. Hey guys, I'm here. So glad you could make it. Shannon says Zuplex. He does those community multiple choice posts on YouTube. He certainly does. And Keith says I didn't catch it. So is Danny on the free tonight, or he's just watching the YouTube video Z? Um, I'm not entirely sure. He might just be watching. Um, uh, but he's certainly qualified to be a guest on a cryptid podcast. Broga says the drew first blood, sir. Oh, they drew first blood, sir. They drew first blood. They certainly did. They certainly did. A lot of people saying hi to Miss Fields and her replying. Zublick says, well, do you know Unapologetic has a swelled head, so I guess he likes to show off. He certainly does know his shot. And he says, walking distance is the title of the Gig Young Plugs in episode Thrash. It certainly is. Thank you. Trying to temporary mental blank, but it certainly is. And again, loosely based on Silling's own uh, desire to go back to simpler times. And Zublik says, I remember Gig Young was once married to Elizabeth Montgomery. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. And didn't he go on to marry somebody else who he later killed, if I remember correctly? But he was also, he played that jerk in They Shoot Horses, Don't They? The impresario who put the old marathon dance together. Tracy says Eric is a great guy. He certainly is. We all love Tug. He's absolutely amazing, and he really knows his stuff. It's a pleasure to watch his stuff. He really does his homework. And in fact, Danny, if you'd be so kind, can you give us a link to Tug's channel? We'd appreciate it. Lance Javen says Gig Young was in Game of Death with Bruce Lee. I forgot that. I forgot that he was in a Bruce Lee movie. You are absolutely right, but I completely forgot. And Dan says, just want to hear what happened to her fur. She's a friend of mine who went looking at Mount St. Helens, and be careful what you wish for, you may get it. She wanted a Bigfoot encounter, and she got it. Oh, yes, he was. She actually went Bigfoot hunting and actually had an encounter with Bigfoot. But of course, Dan, you did too, if I remember correctly. Didn't you say when you were 10 or 11 you had a an experience with a Bigfoot? Which is why I think you'd be perfect to be on one of those cryptid shows. Indy Spout says, are you referring to Kim Schmidt? I'm not familiar with the name of the lady off the top of my head, but I believe that was the case. It was a murder-suicide, if I remember correctly. Zublik says, yep, a young German woman who he killed, then committed suicide. Thanks, Zoop. That confirms my anecdotal anecdote. Keithy says Eric has a great Spaceballs, but it's only on his Patreon because of copyright strikes, potentially. I saw that. Oh, first they go after Steve and now Tug. Oh, I'm getting disappointed. Lance Chafin says, where is Tug, by the way? If I remember correctly, he had plans with his family this weekend. So he's probably still doing things with his family. It was, remember, his wife's birthday was not too long ago, and I think they made some plans for this weekend. But good question, though. Indy Spout says, yep, that's her. Danny Staten says, yep, had more than one my life, but I'm a paranormal investigator. I go looking for trouble. Well, there was one in particular when you were 10 or 11, where you saw it on a hill and it saw you and came after you. That was the best story that I recall. Daryl Jones says Tug had to go back to Tug had to go back to jail. Oh my gosh, for copyright strikes. YouTube's getting serious. So because I remember Unapologetic Spaceballs review, it masqueraded as Star Wars. As I recall, then he tricked us. Yes, yes, yes. That was his famous April Fool's Day episode. And I remember I was all geared up because he said something really inflammatory about something, and I'm like, and then he goes, April Fool, and I'm like, oh, I was almost let down. I really wanted to debate him on the matter. And let's just see what we could do. Oh, wow, I breezed past the time. And you guys want to do the trivia game now? Everybody apart from Superplex? Uh, oh, and he says, Tug didn't trick me. I knew it wasn't Star Wars vid when I saw the 16-minute runtime for it. Lance Jamin says, it's 5:35 Thresh. Yeah, 6:30 and change in my area. As I completely went by the half of the hour. So Blake says, nope. Doesn't want to do the trivia. Lucifield says, okay. Oh no, trivia, LOL. And Len says, Super loves zombie movies. Oh, yeah, he sure does. So anyway, I'm going to start the trivia game now, by the way, because I'm already 7 minutes behind. And as always, I will read them in no particular order. Number 10. In the film The Warriors, Cyrus's famous catchphrase was what? A. Can you dig it? B. Can you see the light? C. Can you hear me? Or D. Can you smell what the riffs are cooking? I shall repeat. Cyrus's famous catchphrase was what? Can you dig it? Can you see the light? Can you hear me? Or can you smell what the riffs are cooking? Suplex says E. Very funny. Oh, come on, Suplex. I opened with one song. Even people who didn't see the movie knew this one. And Keithy says, I am not taking this question. Progu says C. That's a. Suplex, okay, C. A lot of people picking C. And Tracy's laughing at Super. But anyway, it is A. It is can you dig it? Question 9. And this was one of the ones that was actually you could find on Facebook. The sports themed gang were named the what? Were they the Soccer's Clockers, the Hockey's Talkies, the Baseball Furies, or Doubleday's Crazies? I shall repeat. The I will try to repeat. The sports-themed gang were named the what? A. The Soccer's Clockers. B. The Hockey's Talkies. C. The Baseball Furies. Or D. Doubleday's Crazies. Denny says, fun fact, wrestler Booker stole his tagline, can you dig it, sucker? I think I knew that from somewhere. But anyway, Sean says furries. No, not the baseball furries, the Furies. I'm kidding. You did right, Furies. But yes, it's. Oh, hey, yawning yak is here. He says the orphans. You see what you get when you mess with the orphans. We're gonna rain on you, yawning yak. I'm glad you could actually join in. I'll give you half credit for creativity, but the answer, of course, is C. The Baseball Furies. Question 8. The shaved-headed paramilitary school bus driving gang were known as the what? A. The Farnham Baldies. B, the Turnbull ACs, C, the Nazi punks, or D, the Gramercy cue balls? I shall repeat. The shave-headed paramilitary school bus driving gang were known as the what? A, the Farnham Baldies, B, the Turnbull ACs, C, the Nazi punks, or D, the Gramercy cue balls? Ooh, Zubalix actually picked A. I'll get back to that one in a second. Give you guys a second. Oh, Michaels is giving us the double I look. Well, I to you too, Captain. Ooh, a lot of people picking A. Keithy says, "What side is the thrash?" I'm sorry. What side is the thrash was able to make up all these other wrong answers? Well, that's half the fun of it. What I do is I take a fact, like I would say, like the shave-headed paramilitary gang was the what, and then I come up with some other cool sounding names. For example, one of the wrong answers here was the Farnham Baldies. The Farnham Baldies is actually in another gang-related movie, The Wanderers. The Wanderers, which actually, believe it or not, watch the two of them together. They make a surprisingly good double feature. But yeah, the Farnham Baldies was incorrect. It is B, and a lot of you guys got it. B, the Turnbull ACs. Nazi punks is of course a reference to a song, and the Grimacy cue balls is just something I made up. But yeah, so that's my trick. I'll take a fact and then just make up incorrect facts. Number 7. In the Warriors, the principal bad gang were the who? A, the Rogues, B, the Rapscallions, C, the Rascals, or D, the Reprobates? Oh, and Danny, thank you for giving a link to Michael's. The Rascals. No, the Rascals were a 60s pop band. Let me repeat though. In the Warriors, the principal bad gang were the whom? A, the Rogues, B, the Rapscallions, C, the Rascals, or D, the Reprobates? Tracy picked Rascals too. Yes, it's the Rogues. Very good. And number 6, and then we'll get scores. The Rogues leader was named what? A, James, B, Dean, C, Martin, or D, Luther? And did you see what I did there? I did sort of a smush here. I'll put it on as I go. The Rogues leader was named what? A, James, B, Dean, James Dean, to C, Martin, Dean Martin, and then D as in Martin Luther. And I'll give you guys a hint. I'll give you a hint. There was another Terence Hill film, 48 Hours, where the gentleman actually plays another character, but a different character, but with the same name. And actually, it looks like virtually all of you got it. Although Luther likes pick Martin. But yes, it was Luther. It is says that actor also played Luther in 48 Hours. Indeed, spot on. Boom. You were mentioning the fact literally as I was, and I'm very, very proud of you, Keith. He says Fifth Amendment. We'll see how that holds up. So anyway, that was the first 5. Let's see some scores. Zublex is 2 for 4. You see, that's pretty darn good. Zublex is 2 for 5. That's not quite as good percentage-wise, but you're doing okay. Shininess is 4 for 5. Indy is 5 for 5. Very good, Indy. Oh, come on, there's going to be more scores out there. Lisa Fields is 5 for 5. Very good. Apparently, it was one of your favorite movies as well. Daryl Johnson is 5 for 5. And you guys say that my trivia contests are tough. Tracy is 4 for 5. Brogu is 3 for 5. Teb! Charlie Eugene Bellinger is here. Oh my God, so glad you could make it. Says, hey, Thrash, sorry I'm late. No, don't worry. I was an hour and a half early. The fact that you guys made an accommodation to get here for any portion of it is Very, very kind of you. I will be at my normal 7:30 time next week, by the way. So we're not going to make a habit of this. This was just because there was a particular thing Danny needed to do. But anyway, Ted, glad you're here, and you can take part in the second half of the trivia game. You watched the first half in replay. And Lucy Field says, love the Warriors. Zublik says, I haven't watched the Warriors in ages. My wife said the same thing, and I think she got 4 out of 5, but yeah, she said the same thing. So I think that's all the scores that people are coming forward with. So I will pick up now with the second half. Okay. The gang leader. And again, this is going to be random. It's just TV shows where gangs have appeared, mostly in sitcoms, so it's like a one-shot deal. But anyway, the gang leader the Sweat Hogs ran afoul of was named what? And he was a recurring character. Was it A. Schiavelli, B. Carvelli, C. Fonzarelli, or D. Miss Ellie? I shall repeat. The gang, and then of course, this is of course in Welcome Back, Kotter. The gang leader the Sweat Hogs ran afoul of was named what? A. Schiavelli, B. Carvelli, C. Fonzarelli, or D. Miss Ellie? Broga says, I'm not doing too bad saying that I haven't seen the Warriors. Well, the fact you get any right, I think, is very, very good. But again, it's part of our cultural lexicon. Jonathan says, it's a favorite of mine. I have a trivia question for you. All if Thrash does not cover it. Please, I've read all the Warriors questions. So please read into the record, and I will happily give it as an example. Oh, and getting back to this, yes, in the Welcome Back, Kotter, the gang leader the Sweat Hogs ran afoul of was named B. Carvelli. He actually went on to become kind of a funny recurring character. But yes, Carvelli. Number 4. In Hill Street Blues, this is Hill Street Blues, David Caruso played the leader of what Hill Street Blues gang? Was it A, the Winter Hill Gang, B, the Shamrocks, C, the Purple Flower Gang, or D, the Ravens? I shall repeat. David Caruso played the leader of what Hill Street Blues gang? Was it A, the Winter Hill Gang, B, the Shamrocks, C, the Purple Flower Gang, or D, the Ravens? And wow, all of you got this one. Wow. Oh, Zuplex is actually 3 for 6 now. He just wanted that in the record. But you guys did really, really well. Yes, B, the Shamrocks. That was his first big break. That's why I always hated the story of he was so mean to Steve Boschko when he wanted to get out of his contract for NYPD Blues. If it wasn't for David Caruso, no one would have ever heard of you. You got to start doing Steve Bochco shows. Number 3, and this is from Happy Days. I'm gonna read the show into the record, even if it appears in the question, just so you have a point of reference. In Happy Days, Fonzie's erstwhile gang were the who? A, the Falcons, B, the Millenniums, C, the Hawks, or D, the Sharks? I shall repeat. Fonzie's erstwhile gang was named the what? A, the Falcons, B, the Millenniums, C, the Hawks, or D, the Sharks? And again, you guys all knew this one. Yes, the Falcons. Remember, the Falcon turf is how he met Richie. Oh, and this is from Good Times. JJ's short-lived gang experience was with what gang? A, the Harlem Nights, B, the Hollywood Nights, C, the Satan's Nights, or D, the Night Riders? I shall repeat. In Good Times, JJ's short-lived gang experience was in what gang? A, the Harlem Nights, B, the Hollywood Nights, C, the Satan's Nights, or D, the Night Riders? You guys are on fire, except for Zuplex seems to be having a real tough time with the second half, more so than the first half, which I find truly ironic. But most of you are doing like really well with the second half. And yes, it's C, the Satan's Knights. And the number one question, and this is also, by the way, this is also from Good Times. Iconic recurring character on Good Times was the gangster named what? A. Sweet Daddy, B. Sugar Daddy, C. Big Daddy, or D. Sweetback Badass? I shall repeat. Iconic recurring character on Good Times was the gangster named A. Sweet Daddy, B. Sugar Daddy, C. Big Daddy, or D. Sweetback Badass? And let's just see. So a few different answers on this one. I see a lot of you got it right, but a few of you went for another. Oh, Zuplex is 5 of 9. You skipped one, huh? All right, Indy. Yes. Oh, Tug is here. Speak of the devil. We were wondering why we didn't make it. We couldn't figure out if it maybe the early show time was inconducive for you, or if you still had plans with your family. But anyway, Lance Tug is here. So yeah, welcome to the party, Tug. We were also talking about how superlative your trivia game is. I feel I don't want to say marginalized, but they're really tough. I think I get 1 out of 3. Indy says he maybe missed 3 altogether, but anyway, they are very very good questions and very well researched, and we enjoy them. But Tug says just finished dinner. Thanks for the love. Well, got your back, Tug. Zuplex says, and how swell a head you have. Zuplex, stop that. Zuplex has it stuck in his head. You have a big head. But did I answer the question? It was Sweet Daddy. was the gangster in Good Times, and that is all the trivia for today. So let's see some final scores. I'll just see. A lot of people having fellowship with Tug. Indy says, Tug, if you love the Warriors, prepare to be disappointed for missing the first half of the game. Oh, you can watch it replay. We'll do the honor system. Ken is 2 out of 10. Keith says, score retracted. That bad, huh? Tug is 1 for 1. That's 100%. Lisa Fields got all 10. Lisa, I'm so proud of you. Excellent. Shauna's got 9 for 10. Brogu got 8 for 10. Zublik says, was Sweet Daddy A? Yes, Sweet Daddy was A. Terrell Eugene Bellinger is 5 for 5. Excellent. Daryl Johnson got 9 out of 10. Tracy got 9 out of 10. Tug says, congrats to Lisa. Indy says 10 for 10, but had 3 correct guesses, so I won't count it. A correct guess is a win. You let fate decide for you, and you should definitely count it. And Zuplet's got 6 of 10, which is actually better than he's been complaining about. And Darrell John says, though Sweet Daddy is kind of a sissy gang name, I think that was the point. Honest to God, I think the idea was it was like, the name like Smuckers, it's got to be good. With a name like Sweet Daddy, you have to be a real badass. He was a great character too. Anyone know what his real name was? Merle. JJ finds out in one episodes and insists on calling him Merle, and Sweet Daddy gets a little miffed. Let's see what else we got going on here. Keith says, I can't say this too loud, but Brogu got the smart hippo. Oh, that's very, very kind of you. Danny's giving us a link to Tug. Zublik says, I made a few guesses too. We'll still count it. Tug says, hey, thanks, Danny. You are Johnny on the spot with the links. Oh, and Shannon says, what actress in The Warriors also appears as Tom Hanks' mother in Big? Give me a second. What actress? I'm gonna have to say, and I mean this literally. I'm going to have to guess. Is it Mercedes Rule? Because she was the woman who was the undercover cop that uh, traps Ajax. That's going to be my guess. Let me know if I'm right. I will. Deborah Van Valkenburg, of course, played Mercy. I had a crush on her ever since even when I saw her in Too Close for Comfort, which I think I saw Too Close for Comfort before I saw The Warriors. Now that I think of it, and the other one, the girl who runs the newsstand that the rogues pilfer, she actually played Trini in 3-2-1 Contact. For you '80s science buffs. Let's just see. Zublik has no idea. Lisa says, good question. Tug also guesses Mercedes Rule. Oh, I was correct. Thank you, Sean. Thank you. Excellent. I haven't seen Big since I saw it in the theaters, so I must say that was an inspired guess. But the only actress I could think of would be age appropriate, would have been Mercedes Rule. And Tug got it as well. Shauna says, yes, good one. Indy says, sweet daddy uh, was named Marion. Marion? It wasn't Merle? Okay, we'll go with Marion. I know better than to question you on your facts, Indy. So Marion it is. I think I just misremembered all these years. Brogu said, if it weren't for you, Keith, I wouldn't even have a hippo. Thanks. Ziblik says, wasn't she in The Fisher King? Ooh, I can't remember. Maybe, probably is. Shannon says, what other 48 Hours actor played one of the baseball Furies? Oh, that's a great question. I don't know. I don't know. I know Terrence Hill did both, but I don't know. And he loved to like reuse actors. Tom says, still here. Thanks, Tom. So glad you're still with us, by the way. What do you think about it, Wizards 2, by the way? Tug says I couldn't remember the last name. LOL. Yeah, I was gonna say there's a joke about Mercedes Rule, but I can't remember what it was. Um, uh, Danny says Francis Fisher, Billy's mom in Big. Yes. Tab says, do you know that All in the Family, Sanford and Son, Three's Company were all U.S. adaptations of British shows? Yes, one was I think the Archie was Those Were the Days, Archie Bunker. Sanford and Son was Steptoe and Son, and Three's Company was Man About the House. Oh, look who's here. Baked Bean says, hey, Thrash and everybody in chat. Baked Bean, so glad you are here, and as is everybody else, because everyone's dropping what they're doing to say hello to Baked Bean. So glad you could make it. Baked Bean, do you remember the British sci-fi series UFO? It's become one of my new favorite fun facts. Benedict Cumberbatch's mom was on UFO. Tug says Dan Fielding's real name in Night Court was Reinhold, which was a self-deprecating joke in the expense of writer Reinhold Wedge. I did not know that. Shannon says, any guesses? Okay, any guesses? Any guesses? Well, the only people I remember from of 48 Hours are well, James Remar was Ajax, so he wouldn't have played a baseball Fury, and Eddie Murphy couldn't play a baseball Fury. Was it the guy who played Billy Bear? It's awfully big, but he could have done it. I don't know. I'm going to guess Billy Bear. Baked Bean says, pretty darn awesome, Zope. Beautiful sun today with lovely breeze. Oh, it sounds like wonderful. It wasn't too bad here on Cape Cod either. Went to the park with the bin lids this after 9, I'm assuming means. And Zublik says that sounds wonderful. Tug has no idea, Sean. I thought Sean was saying it was Baked Bean. Baked Bean, you were in the Baseball Furies? Oh, Mickey's here. Mickey says, can I get a shout out for my friend Paddy Lennon birthday from Ireland? I got him new LCD TV because Kerry smashed his TV last night drinking. Mickey, of course you can. Happy birthday, Paddy Lennon. And let's see what else we get going on here. Tracy says, I watched Man About the House. It was good. Here's a trivia question for you. The dude from Man About the House played the young pharaoh in Cleopatra with Liz Taylor. That's going back a bit. Um, uh, Baked Bean says, I know the name Thrash, but I didn't watch it. Keith E says, hello, Baked Bean. Good to see you. Teb says, all in the family was Till Death Do Us Part. I'm sorry, Till Death Do Us Part. Sanford said was Steptoe and Son, and Three's Company was Man About the House. I think there was another show with the name I gave, but you're right, Till Death Do Us Part. And Baked Bean says, hi, Keith. You too, my friend. Indy says, Sonny Landham. Was Sonny Landham the guy who played Billy Bear? I'm just guessing. Charlie says the answer is Sonny Landham. He played one of the Baseball Furies. Yep, Billy Bear. Okay, so do I get half credit because I didn't know the actor's name, but I extrapolated who you were talking about? I'm gonna have to watch it again just so I can watch for that. Big Bean says, and Nick would stand out if he played a Baseball Fury. Oh, I could if Nick Nolte had been one of the Baseball Furies. I guarantee you, I would have known that. I'm sure I could not have gone all those years and not known that he was one of the Baseball Furies. Big fan when I back in the day. So Luke says, hello, Mickey. That sounds about right. Superplex. We talked about this. We've just talked about this. Big Bean says Sonny was a BF. Never knew that Billy. I never knew it either. It was an inspired guess. Shana says credit to Thrash, full credit to Indy. Okay, that works fine because Indy, of course, knew the man's name. And I think I've already forgotten it. Sonny Landham. Sonny Landham. It sounds like a type of meat. Try our new fresh baked Sonny Landham. I'll work on it. Tug says, Thrash, is it true you are Emily's psychiatrist? It explains so much. I saw that on Facebook too. Emily had one of those posts where if you were this, if you were that. In this case, it was if you were locked up in an asylum, and it gave all the people that you would know in this asylum, and you had to like put friends as this, that, or the other. I was a psychiatrist, and all I could think of was the episode of Tales from the Crypt where the inmates take over the asylum. Yeah, because that's the only way that plot line holds water. So Book says, yeah, I heard that T-Pawns. Did you know that Paul's grandpa in Hard Day's Night was also in Steptoe and Son? I didn't. I did not know that. I don't think I've ever watched Steptoe and Son. I've watched a lot of British shows, but never Steptoe and Son. Danny has given us a link. Thank you so much for the links. Baked Bean says, hey, Tug, finally sent it. So happy, but nervous to roll on my Facebook. So Luke says, what? It's no secret that... Dude, stop it. Indy says, Billy and that damn nose of his. Keith Wilkins says, Bob, did you ever see Good Neighbors? It was a British comedy. I've heard of it. I've never seen it, but I have heard of it. Bacon says, yo, Indy. Indy Spot says, what up? Beaner. And Tug says, I'll definitely get back to you, Baked. Hopefully, I'll be more responsible in a couple of weeks after this crazy summer ends. I know this summer has been exhausting. I was talking with some of my coworkers about it the other day. It's like we're running on empty, and it's only the first week in August. It's uber cray cray. Trey says my favorite British show is The Faulty Towers. I can certainly see that. Although I'd have to go with Monty Python or Doctor Who. Other says that was my. Oh, I'm sorry. That was why he was hired to play the role. The Beatles loved that show. I did not know that. And Gary Carpenter is guessing D. It took you a while to get that guess in, Gary, but yes, D is the correct answer. Danny Staten has given us a link this time to Dave Sundstrom. Excellent, excellent. Doug says Blackadder is my fave, but I've got a lot of others. Okay, then, which installment? They're all good, but which installment of Blackadder? And I'll even let you count some of the extra ones, like the Cavalier period, or the back and forth, or but anyway, which installment of the Blackadder do you like the most? And then I'll tell you what mine is. Zublik says, Tracy, did you ever see Absolutely Fabulous? I loved Absolutely Fabulous. Tracy says there's an Australian soap that was called Neighbours. I haven't seen it. Gary Carpenter's guessing B. I'm guessing that's the correct answer. Indie Spout says my favorite British show is Monty Python. Absolutely love Monty Python. Although I do love their panel shows. David Mitchell's Rules. Wasn't Match Game originally done as a British show? Wasn't it originally Yakety Yak? And they used the concept for America's Match Game. Because if I remember correctly, Match Game was different when it first was concepted. Zubugs wants to know if you enjoyed the show, Tracy. Tug says Blackadder 2. Possibly my second favorite. Believe it or not, mine is the Georgian period with Prince George, and Blackadder is the royal butler. I thought the timing between the two of those was absolutely phenomenal. Let's just see. Baked Bean says, talking of DM, did you ever see Only Connected Indie? And then Baked Bean goes on to say, DM's wife, Victoria Corrin, presents it. Trey says, I also liked the British show Gimme, Gimme, Gimme in Thin Blue Line. Those were hilarious, not to mention Take the Letter, Mr. Jones, and Are You Being Served? Loved Are You Being Served? Gary Carter says A or B. Well, I have to pick A or B. I would have to go with B. B for Bob. And he says, wait, is the Victoria Corrin trivia show? Then yes, a couple of times he's seen it. Baby says you'd enjoy it. I think, Indy, it is the quiz of quizzes. Their champs would smash University Challenge champs. Do you guys remember, speaking of British shows, someone out there must have seen The Young Ones. Did you ever see The Young Ones where they do University Challenge? And they actually get the actors from Smith and Jones to play the one's a security guard, and the other one is Bamber, what's his name, who actually presents the show. And if you watch closely, Ben Elton, Stephen Fry, Emma Watson, and I was just talking about him. The guy from House, Hugh Laurie. Those are the contestants from the posh school, University Uxbridge, University of Uxbridge. And it was absolutely hysterical. It was one of the best bits. And Robbie Coltrane plays this like 19th century scientist in a twist ending, which although I think of you, Keith, when I think of it, because there's a scene where, well, you know what? I don't want to ruin it for you. Guys, go out and watch it if you haven't seen it. If you have seen it, by the way, let me know what you think. Teb says Too Close for Comfort was an adaptation of the British sitcom called Keep It in the Family, created by the same people who did Man About the House, the inspiration for Three's Company. I think I'd heard that somewhere. Gary Garber says Tugboat. Tug says that one does have Hugh Laurie. It would be my second favorite. The Blackadder 3. The third, I think they called it. Zublik says, has anyone ever seen The Naked Civil Servant? It starred John Hurt, and it has a biography of Quentin Crisp, I believe was his name. I have not seen it. Sounds interesting. Big Bean says, hey, yes, Thrash, I loved the daft kind of spin-off of Bottom. Yes, they actually, in fact, speaking of Bottom, they actually do Yakety Yak in an episode of Actually, not bottom. Filthy Rich and Cat Flap. Filthy Rich and Cat Flap. They do an episode of Yakety Yak. Ken Wilkins says the best British shows was Doctor Who, hands down, hands down. Ken, that's my favorite of all time. Danny says, "I'm out, dude. Catch you later." Yeah, Danny. You do what you need to do. I will possibly talk to you later. If not, I'll see you later on this week. Oh, I am doing a show tomorrow night. It's going to be the normal 7:30 time. It'll probably only be for about an hour, but we are going to do a show tomorrow night. And Indy says, "Good Lord, of course I've seen that episode." Yeah, funny stuff. That's actually, speaking of Blackadder, that's Baldric, who comes to the doctor, not the 9 o'clock news, and says, "What I bring you is an abomination so horrible you'll fear why God could create such a terrible creature. But remember, he is human. He is a man." And he walks in, and it's an actual elephant. And Cotran goes, "That's an elephant, Doctor. You unfeeling bastard." Okay, so I did ruin the episode. Keith E says the original match game was two teams consisting of one celebrity and two people from the audience on each team. Yeah, I knew there was a different conceptualization. Baked Bean says, "Loved Rick Mail and Abe Edmondson. Such a daft but clever comedy." Rick is dead. The people's poet is dead. Very sad story. But yeah, the two of them were great. Tracy says Emma Watson was host on Big Brother UK. I did not know that. Ziplik says, "For those out of the loop, Quentin Crisp was an early advocate of gay rights in Great Britain." Thanks. I have no idea who he was, by the way. Thank you. I just didn't want to say anything. Teb says Stephen Fry was also in Blackadder. Yes, he was. He played Chancellor Malchit, and he also played the General Malchit in Blackadder Goes Forth. Oh, a lot of people saying goodnight to Danny. Tug says nothing. He jumped off the page. Tug says Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie have done a lot of great things together. Yeah, they had a bit of Fry and Laurie, which was hysterical. Baked Bean says Bottom was insane, degenerate chaos, but with an Uxbridge touch. Ziplik says a bit of Fry and Laurie. Yes, as stated. Oh, look who's here. Speaking of British comics, House of Alex is here. He says, "Hey guys, stopping by whilst I have a chance working a night shift." Quite all right. We're actually going to be closing up in about 15 minutes. So stay as long as you can, but there's not much longer to stay, I'm afraid. Baked Bean says, "Fun fact, Stephen Fry has never seen Star Wars." That's an amazing fact. Wowzers. Tracy says original Doctor Who was the best, specifically the Tom Baker years. Tom Baker is my absolute favorite Doctor, and I will fight with the insanity of a madman to defend that point of view. Shannon says, "Thrash Bondo, I have a semi-retraction. Sonny Landham plays a cop who gets... Oh, the cop... Oh, I'm sorry. The cop whose leg gets taken out by Swan. Steve James was an actual baseball fury. Oops, my bad." Well, all that means I get the question wrong. So I do recall the scene where the cop is running after Swan, and Swan and takes his leg out. And I'm trying to place who Stephen James was. But of course, he was in heavy makeup, so I'm not surprised I couldn't recognize him. But very good. Thank you, Sean, for the update. I appreciate the honesty, even though sadly it means I was wrong. Gary Captain saying hey to Alex. Baked Bean says he presented a daft chat show on TV called "I've Never Seen Star Wars," based off him. Oh, I'll buy that. That sounds right. I think that there's a bell ringing in my head. Oh, Baked Bean says hello to HOA, Homeowners Association. That means in the States. Zublik says, "Who is responsible for Stephen Fry's mishap?" And no, it's probably his mother. Tug says, "I once gave a friend of mine an elephant for his room. He said Thanks. And I said, don't mention it. Don't mention the elephant in the room. Priceless. I'm going to use that, by the way. Speaking of which, Tug, did I tell you? The other day, I actually met an alien from another planet, a planet where everything was even. He said to me, what are the odds? Big Bean, for not seeing Star Wars, Big Bean. Ozzy says, that was horrible of you, baked. LOL. Tug says, that's right, Super. So good. John Hepfer. Hey, John Hepfer, how you doing? Says, R.I.P. Marilyn Monroe and Richard Burton gone yesterday. Well, yeah, yesterday was years ago. But yeah, I see on this date. Now I'm with you. Yes. Thank you, John. It took me a second on the uptake. Mark Margolis, who played Don Hector on Breaking Bad, he actually died recently. Tug says, "Hi, Alex. I didn't see you slip in." And yeah, he kind of just popped in mysteriously. Oh, and Deb says Emma Thompson is an example of a British comedian that went on to find success in dramatic roles. She certainly did. She certainly did. And Alex says, hopefully, I don't know, I don't know the page. Hopefully, I can catch the next one. Hope everyone is well. Yeah, I hope you are well as well. Thank you. Tug says, confession. I've never seen a single episode of Doctor Who. You're kidding. The biggest sci-fi buff I've ever in my life has never seen an episode of Doctor Who. Well, I'll take your word for it. Baked Bean says, indeed, Teb, part of Fry and Laurie's Cambridge alum. Yeah, very good. Yes, they did all go to school together. And yes, Elizabeth says she started as a comedian. And he says, Steve James was a black martial artist. I did not know that. Gotcha. And Tree says, Robert, my last live thumbnail is of Tom Baker and myself. Yeah, I saw that one. There was a teenager who was dressed as Tom Baker. Was he in your group, or was that just a kid who jumped in the photo? And Tug says it's and yes, I did see that spot, by the way, Tracy. Just so you know. In fact, I thought I left a comment on it. I'll double check. I thought I did. And Tug says it's a blind spot for me, Baked Bean. I'm such a completionist that I'd want to watch all of it one episode, and that's a lot of TV. That's a commitment, and a lot of them aren't even available anymore. So yeah, that makes sense. Big Bean says it makes SG1 seem like a movie. Tug, it certainly would. And Tug says, "LOL, Thrash, love it. Thank you." And China says, "Indie Spots, you know it, buddy. Love for Stephen James." And Indie Spots says, "Oh, here it is. I have seen episodes of Doctor Who, Tug, which is actually exactly why I haven't seen the rest." But I'm bummed. And Big Bean says, "I missed. What makes you respond with that indie? Who's Steve James?" Oh, he was actually one of the. Actually, I forgot. I thought he was a baseball fury. Well, either way, Big Bean says, "I see now that it came from Sean." There we go. And Doug says, "Big Bean, it's like he answered your question before you asked it. Time travel. That actually happens. That actually happens because it's part of the thread of the conversation. I've noticed that in rewatches where somebody will ask something as I'm actually saying it. Oh, and Big Bean says, I just looked him up, so no need to reply. She says, that was my friend Patrick. He really pulled off the Tom Baker look. And Zubilik says, please lay off the Warriors content. Fine, I will lay off the Warriors content. But you people have to promise me you're actually going to watch the retrospect. Please, it's like 8 minutes long. You just, and I think I bring up some great points. So go and watch it. Why aren't you watching it now, damn you? Zubilik says, that movie is so old. So old. If a movie came out in my lifetime, it's not old. An old movie is like something with Lillian Gish. That's old. And Big Bean says, if somebody had said to me, name a black martial artist, I'd go modern with MJW. I would probably just say Chuck Norris, I'll be honest. And let's see what else we got on here. Tug says Super the Corinthian. Big Bean says, but it's awesome movie Zoop. Indy says, I answer a lot of Thrash's questions before he asks them. Easy peasy. Spiking the ball now, eh, Indy? Okay, all right. I see how it is. Zublik says, I like what I like. Sorry. You certainly do. And no need to be sorry for it, Zoop. You're like one of my favorite friends of channel. So irascible though you are. Tug says, I watched it. I'll watch it again. Big Bean says, Thrash's Warriors vid is worth watching. Oh, thank you, Big Bean. Thank you. I appreciate the pitch. Oh, and Michael J. White is MJW. I was wondering. Again, didn't want to ask. Zublik says, so the past 40 years of cinema means nothing to you. I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I just said when I think of old movies, I think of movies that came out before I was born. If I can remember them in the theaters, you might as well say Star Wars is an old movie. It's an older movie. It certainly has had much water under the bridge, but I just don't think of Star Wars as an old movie. And Indie Spot says the famous black martial artist Chuck Norris. There you go. Although you said that after I said it, so. And let's see what else we get going on here. Shannon says Steve James was also in To Live and Die in L.A. I love that movie. I was just talking with somebody about that. I haven't seen the movie in years. It has a phenomenal cast. I love the intrigue. I had such a crush on Darlene, whatever her name was. You know what else she was in? And I found it on YouTube and I watched it the other day. She was in the in fact, somebody actually brought this up and I went out and rewatched it. It was the 1985 Twilight Zone episode, and it was a collaboration of Stephen King and Harlan Ellison called Grandma, and she plays the Darlene Flugel. I know it's such a weird name. It sounds like a cartoon character. Darlene Flugel plays the mother, and I had like a crush on her when I was a teenager. And sorry, I kind of went off the rails on that one. Trey says, whose post is Dave on? I believe it's the Facts of Life, the show, not the actual facts. Daryl Johnson, someone slapped the black off Mindy. Ouch. Tug says Jim Kelly is another great black martial artist. Zublik says, oh, I see. I'm so embarrassed now. You were speaking specifically about martial artists who were black, not a black belt. For some reason, that stuck in my head that you were talking about black belt martial artists. You were talking about martial artists who, in fact, were black. Okay, forgiveness. So, yeah, now, cling. Zuplik says 40 years before 1978 is 1938. Think about it. Now, 1938 is an old movie. And Big Bean says, yes, Tug, shout out to those dragons. Indy says Steve James, Tour de Force was Kung Fu Joe, and I'm going to get you, sucker. And Big Bean goes on to say Robert Meyer Burnett loves to live and die in LA. And Tracy also loves To Live and Die in LA. And Indy says, yes, that grammar reference was me, Thresh. Thanks. Thank you, Indy. I thought it was you. But I'm always afraid I'm going to give the shout out to the wrong person and someone will get hurt feelings. But yes, because, yeah, you called me. It was a trivia question. And I had to qualify that I was speaking the original Twilight Zone, not all incarnations. But yeah, I went out and rewatched the episode because I thought it was great when I saw it when it was first aired when I was like in high school. And Teb says Darlene Flugel passed away several years ago, I think. May she rest in peace. Yeah, it was very tragic. I believe it was complications from early onset dementia or something like that. She died years ago. Because I noticed I hadn't seen her in anything. So she came up, I think something that she was in. I was talking about, and I looked her up, and I found out that she had died. It was very sad. Ziplik says Darlene Flugel, wasn't she in a lot of TNA films? Probably. And Baked Bean says, to rest in peace to her. Tug says, I thought you were just making a joke. I didn't get it because it was too off color. No, honestly, I was thinking black belt martial artist. That's why I'm so embarrassed. I'm blushing. Oh, I guess Tracy's going to go because people are saying, oh, yeah, she says, well, good night, everyone. Have a nice evening all. Tracy, thank you so much for stopping by. Love what you're doing on your channel. I'm looking forward to your next live post. I'll try to make it live. I will. I'm probably going to have to work, but I'll try to make it live. Have a great night, Bubba. Take care. Shanina says, died of Alzheimer's in 2017. Yes, early onset dementia. And yes, it was very sad. Indy Spout says, I've connected countless trivia hosts over the years, Bob. You're in spectacular company. Oh, I'm sorry. I've corrected. I'm sorry, you jumped, so I didn't read the word. I've corrected countless trivia hosts over the years, Bob. You're in spectacular company. Thank you. It's so nice to be in the company of greatness. Big Bean says, for those that don't know, Robert Meyer Burnett is a major geek that directed Free Enterprise. He has a YouTube channel called The Post Geek Singularity Smart and Entertaining Gentleman. I love Free Enterprise. We'll say goodnight to Tracy. Gary Humber says, I didn't see many British shows. Are You Being Served was good. Tug says, I'm going to go too. I might not make it to tomorrow's show, but I will try. It's quite all right. If you can't make it, great. If you can't, more than understand. Gary Garber says, good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are. And good night to you too, Gary. And Baked Bean says, Only Fools and Horses is the greatest British comedy show. Not familiar with that one, but thanks. And Shauna says good night to Tug, as does Baked Bean. Tug says good night all. Ken Wilkins also says good night. Zublik says she wasn't that old. I have two cousins, siblings, who passed away in 2020, and they both passed away after many years of suffering from Alzheimer's in their 60s. I know it's very, very sad that it can affect people that young. Very, very sad. Hasta la vista, Tug. Yes, in fact, I think I'm actually going to call it. It's just about 7:30 now. I think I'm going to call it, folks. I want to thank all of you for being here. All of you who could stay. All of you who couldn't stay. All of you who could be here in spirit. Tom and everyone else. Thank you so much for joining us. I have so much fun doing these. I really appreciate everyone's understanding. Coming in early today. Now remember, next week it's going to be the normal 7:30 time. It'll be 7:30 till we get sick of doing it next Sunday. And tomorrow night is probably going to, let's call it 7:30 tomorrow. It'll probably be for an hour, general topic. I could try to come up with topics, but we seem to have more fun when we just sort of speak in stream of consciousness. But anyway, until tomorrow, be good, be safe, be careful. Thank you guys all so very much for coming. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all again very, 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 very soon. Peace.